Well, I guess we'll go ahead and get started here. Um, Thank you guys for coming, everybody who's with us today. Raris, nice to have you join us. When we went around last time, we introduced each other. Um, I'm Shane. I'm from Salt Stack, obviously, and I've been working here for about 5 years almost, and they they had a hard time finding somebody willing to work on Windows. So they hired me. I was willing to do that. We have also on here Chad McMorrow. He's not with us today. Joey Cott's here. He's also a Salt Stack employee. Oh, one of our newer guys. There he is.
Hey.
Also the new got a new webcam on his too. So you got a new screen with the webcam on the bottom. Yeah. He's been with us about what, 5 months, 4 months?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we also, last time we had Marcus Kramer with us. He's from Germany, and he's been working pretty heavily on MSI, getting an MSI going for Salt. He's actually there's a Salt project, Salt-Windows-MSI on the Salt Stack repo that he's been maintaining for the last couple of years for us. And one of our goals we came up with is to try to get a pretty decent MSI. Now, have you been doing that too, right, Raj? You guys have built an MSI that you're installing with? If I remember correctly.
I'm not sure if it's an MSI or we have a different format to distribute software. I'm far from being an expert on Windows packaging or packaging themselves. I'm not sure. I can double check.
Okay. Then also last time we had Rigel Marcinik with us. He's from Chicago. And he had some other interesting ideas with the task scheduler state. And he wanted to create a state that would create a Windows service. I guess we can manage the services, but we can't create them from a state. And then we had another guy that didn't show up last time. And then Raris, would you like to take a minute and introduce yourself?
Sure. So I'm working for National Instruments, which is based off Austin, Texas. I've been working for them for a bit more than 12 years now. My background is heavily C++ and more recently like a bit of C# and Python. The first time when I started working on Python was on Salt related stuff. So I'm fairly new to Python. Yeah, we had some colleagues that were porting the Salt master to Windows, and I did port the Salt API, and our interest is to have Salt as a first-class citizen on Windows. So basically my company's area of interest is really having Salt master and minion working good on Windows, which means be reliable as fast as possible. We know it's not going to be as fast as Linux versions, but as close as we can get with that, and try to eliminate like memory leaks. We've seen various memory leaks here and there. And also we need Salt API as the way to interact with Salt. We used to use the command line interface, but we switched recently to Salt API.
Using Cherry Pie on that?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, I did an original port for Cherry Pie, well, for Salt API using Cherry Pie, but I forgot to turn on the logging. And because of that, all the logging was were like just leaking the whole memory. There was no consumer for the logging. And I did put a pull request addressing that, but it didn't get merged so far.
Okay. Well, we can talk about that in a little bit too.
Sure.
I'm sure that's something everybody's concerned about. And we have a visitor with us, Tommy Chong, just hanging out with us. Did you want to introduce yourself, Tommy? All right. Maybe he's having some problems there. Well, we'll go ahead and continue. So kind of, we'll go over the scope a little bit. Since you're kind of the only guy that was here, Rari, since last time we met. We wanted to, our goals are kind of in line with what you're wanting to do with SALT, and that was improve stability and also add some features that people care about. And when we met last time, did you get a chance to watch the video of it? Or?
Yes, I did watch at least the first half. I don't think I finished that, but I got an idea, and then I read the short notes after the meeting. You placed them in the Salt Stack repo.
Okay, well then I won't go over everything then. But what's kind of surprising to me was how little interest people had in Active Directory and Exchange Server 365 Foundation. I thought maybe we were missing something by not having support for those, you know. But just nobody really cared that we didn't do anything with Active Directory. I was like, oh, huh.
Yeah, I think Windows as a server platform is not very well renowned.
Right. Well, in government, that was all we used. I mean, I guess it depends on the field you're in. Okay, so we had a few action items that we came up with, and since we had Marcus there and his main concern is the MSI, we focused pretty heavily on that. And we actually had a meeting a couple weeks ago where he showed us how he had architected that. And we made a few more goals that we wanted to get done to try to bring that in line with the exe installer that we're building. And it'd be nice to eventually get to where we're doing both. But what I wanted to kind of mention is that for the last, you mentioned that you've had a PR in there that hasn't been merged. And
Yes.
I think we have a backlog, quite a large backlog right now of PRs. And the reason for that is that we are trying to get our test suite stabilized. And we are no longer merging in PRs that have failing tests. We are also requiring that PRs that fix bugs or introduce new features also have tests written for them. So that's been a little bit of a pain point for community members that maybe they aren't familiar with how we write tests or how to even write tests at all. And our big struggle has been getting our test suite stable enough to be consistent and not introducing new bugs. And so we've been, for the last couple of weeks, we've kind of had a big war room. We pulled all of our developers in from all over. And we were here all week last week. And if you look at Neon, the Neon branch on our Jenkins, it's a lot more green now than there was before. But we've had to go through and disable a bunch of tests, and we're just trying to get a green status for now. If we can get a nice green, consistently green branch build, then we're going to start reintroducing the tests that we skipped and one by one and trying to figure out, you know, why they were failing and So it's been a long and ongoing process, and it's probably going to be a few more weeks before we've finally got that worked out. But once we do, then we're going to start going through the backlog of PRs. We'll be requesting that people write tests if they don't have them, and we'll be helping people write them if they need help. I'm guessing that's probably why yours isn't merged in.
Yeah, so the thing with tests is sometimes the fix itself is so small that it's really hard or painful to write a very complicated test. And especially like, for example, the memory leaks. How do you write a test for that?
Right. That's another thing we're looking at too. We have a couple guys. I ought to maybe have them contact you because I know you've been working on the memory leaks.
Yeah, we address some of those leaks. There's another colleague of mine that's was investigating, and he found some tools, and it's really easy when you do like spot checks and you like debug stuff, but it's complicated if you want to automate that in a test suite, and it's almost impossible to write like a test for memory leaks. It's more like the whole testing suite should have support for detecting leaks, running all the tests, not just one test.
Right. One of the things we implemented last week to address that is we've added logging to our build. So we put some logging agents on our golden images that get spun up for the test suite, and we're now pushing out logs to Logstash, and hopefully with those tools we'll be able to see memory leaks that are occurring as the test runs.
Yeah, a different thing that we noticed regarding the memory leaks is that, for example, if you upgrade the Cherry Pie version that introduces, like the next version we tried was introducing a lot of leaks on Windows. So we prefer just to freeze that version for now until we figure out what's going on. So having the test suite detect leaks would be really good for the future, because you have changes that are not made by you. There are changes in the dependencies which can like create memory leaks. So that's just one thing to be aware.
Okay, so we bundle Cherry Pie 17.4.1. Is that the version you pinned on, or did you?
I can double check and come back with an answer. It was a colleague of mine who was investigating, and he was like, hey, I updated this dependency because I hoped some memory leaks are going away, but then we are leaking much more than that. He said something like thousands of dictionaries with objects and stuff, as opposed to like tens of them.
Okay.
So I think it's important, just like updating dependencies can introduce leaks. So it's just like to be aware of this thing.
So that's in the Salt API that you're seeing those leaks, or that's in Salt in general?
I think they were in Salt API.
Okay.
I'm not totally sure, but I think it was in Salt API, yes. And then, yeah, there's a different regarding testing again. So there's a different change that I'm really close to have a pull request on was, for example, on Windows, the max open files is not respected. And because like when you spawn a new process, the new process, the one that forked, doesn't inherit all the attributes from the parent process. That happens on Linux, but not on Windows. So I'm refactoring some stuff in the process manager, I think it's called a class, and I'm introducing like a class, and so it's going to be really hard to unit test those things or to have tests on them.
Okay.
There was a change that Sergey did for all the classes that were inheriting from multiprocessing class, signal handling multiprocessing. They had to say like each child equal true, just in order to pass the log queue and the log queue level. so he can pickle them and unpickle them in the new process that gets spawned. So I refactor all of these things to have like a middle class for all of them. So like the end classes don't need to do them manually everywhere. It's really simplifying the code a lot, and I think it's much nicer. But my point is that it's going to be hard to write new tests for these things. Maybe I can. I'll have to double check.
Maybe one of our guys might have some ideas on how to do it too.
Okay.
And, I can put you in contact with him. His name is Daniel Wozniak. DWoz is his handle.
Yeah, I meet you guys. So I've been for SolveConf last year, and I'm like the tall blonde guy that was.
Right, I remember you.
Okay, just like a reference.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
You had a friend with you too. I can't remember his name.
Yeah, he's my manager, Cosmin.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was trying to ping you guys on all the pull requests I'm like creating, or my guys here at NI. Just like if they're in the Windows area or affecting Windows, I was trying to ping you and DWoz for those. Yeah, if you feel like overwhelmed about these, I can stop pinging you.
No, keep pinging us, please. Keep pinging us.
Okay.
It's great. And I think you guys have been instrumental in getting, I know Sergey was instrumental in getting the master running on Windows and getting all that stuff working. So, I mean, we appreciate what you guys have done there at National Instruments.
Awesome. Yeah, he's very resourceful.
Yeah. Okay, so we need to, you have several PRs then that we need to be looking at and without getting those in once we get our test stabilized.
Yes. I asked this before. I think it was on Slack. Like, what's the strategy once a PR got approved? How long it takes to get merged?
Well, if all the tests are green, then we should be able to just merge it. That's been the problem. We kind of changed our policy in the last 3 or 4 months in an effort to stabilize things. And we're still not able to get things stable. We're having some other issues we're trying to work through. One of them is the memory leak. We are seeing that. It seems like our test suite's really slow. On Windows, it was taking 6 hours to complete our test run, which makes troubleshooting issues really hard, you know, when you have to make a change and wait 6 hours. So we've done we've skipped a lot of slow running tests, and we skipped about 300 tests, and we did some parallelization, and that brought the runtime down to 2 hours. And that's 300 out of 10,000 tests. So, I mean, there were just some tests that were really slow running for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully we'll get a handle on that within the next month, and then we'll be able to start. We're going to start going through all the old PRs. And
awesome.
A
different question I wanted to ask. Sorry, go ahead.
I was saying hopefully it'll be just as simple as pushing the button to update the code base to the current, and then having it run the test, and everything looks good, and then we can just merge things in. And if it's a change that we need, that we really want, then we'll be more proactive about helping people write tests, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, so a different thing I wanted to ask, like, there were times when I like reviewing almost all the pull requests that were posted. Does that help in any way? Because like I don't have a push access. It's like my reviews are taken into account or just ignored, since the pull request requires someone that has push access to review the code. Should I continue?
I've seen your name on there with a check mark that you've approved stuff. Can you not request changes? Is that grayed out for you?
I can do that, but the thing is, are they taken into account? Should I continue to do that, or I'm?
Yeah,
They,
yeah, they're taken into account.
okay.
You feel like it's being ignored? Are people not?
There were cases when they're like overruled by some. I think there were some that were overruled by DWAS, which was like more relaxed about some stuff I like reported. That's fine. I was just trying to see if it makes any sense just to review stuff, or I should stop doing that because it has to have like official reviews anyway.
It does. We do have to have some official reviews, but well, you're very instrumental in some of the memory leak stuff and some of the things you work on, and you have insight that we don't. So we'd love to have you review on that.
Okay.
We have the local group policy module that was submitted, is basically written by a community member. Lo Moreau, this handle.
Yes,
And
I've seen that.
I ping him all the time to review changes to the LGPO module just because he's more familiar with the code. So, and he's not necessarily a guy with merge rights. But
Okay.
he can tell me when I'm doing something stupid, you know, like putting everything in a with in context manager. You know? And I think did you say something on that PR? I think somebody said something on that PR.
I don't remember.
Somebody did, and I had tested it and it all worked. Okay. Okay, yeah, we do appreciate your input on that. So please keep reviewing those.
Okay.
Get back to my. See if there's anything else we need to talk about. So since Marcus isn't here, we can't really get a report on what he's gotten done. I know that Chad, one of our SALT guys, one of his action items was to create like a Windows event log module. And I think he's done that.
Yeah, I've seen that pull request. I don't know if it got merged or not, but yeah, there was a pull request on that.
I don't think it's merged, but I think he's got the work done on it. And I don't know if he has a state for it as well. I can't remember.
Yeah, so there is a different thing I mentioned, well, I asked before on the other meeting was, for example, when people are making changes, are they able to trigger like CIs just to see like before posting the pull request? Because like if they're doing something stupid and they don't want to go public before at least acknowledging that it works on all the platforms you have, is there a way to ask for pull requests or that are not public basically, or any way to trigger some CIs?
Well, you can put a work in progress tag on your title, like a WIP, and open the pull request. It's public, it's not private, but it will launch all the tests. But it won't get merged as long as you have the WIP in there.
Oh, that's a good point. Okay, I wasn't aware of this. Awesome, that's great.
Okay. Do you mind if I put you in contact with our guys that are looking at the memory leaks?
Oh, it's totally fine, sure.
I think I have your email, don't I? I think I
Yes.
before. I'll make sure I got it. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'll send them your contact information, maybe we can set up a Slack. Are you on the Slack?
Yes.
Maybe we can set up like a another room for on the community and just get some of your input on it.
Sure.
That would be very helpful. Help us know where to look, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. Was there anything that you wanted to see, like in the next major release after Neon, that you were interested in?
So our strategy with Salt is, since we cannot really control Salt, we have an NI repo clone for Salt. And typically our strategy is whenever we want to fix anything or introduce new features or whatever, we just upstream the thing first, which will be introduced in the next release. But we also pull the change in our branch like immediately, so we can release when we need it to be released for our clients. So it's like we have Salt API. We have a lot of stuff on the 2018.3 branch because that's what we ship to the customers. So I really like to have everything upstream before pulling stuff in our branch, but because of our release schedules and timetables, I have to pull stuff earlier or to migrate them to earlier releases. So this is like a workaround. Whenever I need something in, I can just put it in our repo first and then upstream it. We try to get upstreaming at least like approval, just to make our lives easier. Like,
right. But our releases have been really slow lately because of our test.
Yeah. Yes.
I haven't been able to push them out as quickly as you've needed, I'm sure.
Yeah, one of the next things we want to have, I don't know if there are like plans for SaltStack to have that, but we want ways to notify, like when some work is happening on the minion, we want to be notified so we can have like a small tray icon that's bubbling up, like now it's installing this software or now it's going to be rebooted, the system, or that kind of things. And especially for installing software, like when you install a lot of software, you don't know what's happening on the system. So one of the next thing we want to do, and there was a discussion on SaltStack GitHub, I think it was an issue or a discussion that we are planning to add some support for the package manager to be more verbose to say when it's installing what, and so we can have a way to report progress on the installing.
So you're talking like a little system tray icon that runs and sends little notifications in the little corner.
Right, right. Yeah, we want to do that. And for that, we need some sort of feedback from the package module from Salt. Like I install this, and then I'm installing this, and then I'm installing these as time passes. So we will have some pull requests at a later time to have this behavior, at least for our, we have a NI Linux RT distribution, and we have a virtual package for the package module, and that will have some sort of notifications somehow to report back to the server what's going on.
Okay, and that's like a little Salt agent or something?
I don't know about the Salt agent.
So that would run and monitor what Salt's doing and pop up little bubbles. And
Yes, so you have it done already?
no, we don't. But we kind of wanted to have something down there for like a service manager so that you could start and stop Salt or whatever, see what's running. But that's a cool idea too, to have it bubble up information about what it's doing.
Yes, yeah, because like what happens is clients are selecting some stuff to be applied to the system, and then they have no idea what's going on. It's like, is it still installing? It didn't fail, obviously, but did it get disconnected? Is it making any progress? It's like that for like 2 hours now. So yeah, we want some sort of feedback from the minions.
We've had people request like a progress bar, but I think that's from the master side. You know, they push a job and they want to see a progress bar on the state they're running.
Yes, we want both on the server, but also on the minion. So we want the server because, yeah, we want to have it on the server. So if someone is looking at a pretty web UI, to see progress on all the systems potentially. But we also want on the particular client, if it's a Windows machine, to see that a reboot is going to happen or some software installation is going to happen and that kind of thing. So it's both on the minion and on the master. I think for the states, what I've seen, they recommend sending events from the state itself. So basically you can have in your state file, you can say like, do this and then send an event back and then do this other stuff and then send an event back. But that might not be even as granular as wanted, because if you say like install, in one step install 2000 packages, yeah, you might want progress among those packages.
So it'd be on the module level.
Right, right.
And anything that would be long running, like updates or installation.
Yes, I think that's like the very start. That's the first thing that they requested. And then if there are other like long-term operations, maybe it makes sense to have that too.
Okay. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, we'll need to figure out. So basically, salt is in our focus, but it's just like one thing. We obviously do much more things, and when we get closer to release, our focus shifts like almost entire focus on other features and like in our web services and that kind of things.
Yeah.
But we always keep an eye on salt. Like I'm trying to merge as often as possible, and that's how I figure out like the co-initialize behavior that is happening right now. Yeah, we are trying to be proactive about those things.
Okay, so I'm going to put for you, get existing PRs merged. That's what you put in. Did you have some ones for fixing the co-initialize? Did you have some memory leak stuff?
So yes, there is one on Salt API that's really just enabling the logging for Salt API. Without that, you cannot use Salt API on Windows because it will eat your whole memory in like an hour.
Okay.
So yeah, and it's really just like start the logging process. That's all the change it does.
It just starts it. Oh, so since it wasn't started, it was just, it couldn't empty the queue or something.
Exactly, it was not processing the queue, and the queue doesn't contain only the like, it contains all the levels for logging, which is really verbose.
Okay, so that's another thing we were looking at in an attempt to try to address the memory leak issue, was to, if you set a log level, to only have the queue processing those instead of having everything in there and filtering, if that makes sense.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, I think it was a fairly naive implementation for logging, because it didn't matter what level you were setting, all the logging all the levels were ending up in the logging process, which was filtering. But that was a lot of traffic to pass all the possible logging levels just to ignore them before
Right.
writing them to file. And I think Sergey had a pull request on that, and that got merged. And I'm using his infrastructure to have the Max open files working on Windows. It's just that I'm refactoring some of his stuff.
Do you know what branch that got merged in?
I can double check. I think it was in 2018.3. I can double check.
I thought we were still passing all the log messages.
In theory, you shouldn't do that anymore. The code is there, so all the processes that are started are having their own log level and log queue set up, and they are traveling. So they are pickled and unpickled, set state and get state. So the new processes are knowing about the level that's set up in the configuration, and it's not sending what's not supposed to be sent.
Their config setting for that? Or it should just be working like that?
It should work like that already. The config is just to say like what's the level you want for logging.
Okay. Can you send me that PR if you can find it?
Sure, yeah.
Because we were talking about that just last week. That came up, and if that's already been fixed, I'd like to see the PR that did it and be able to show that to him.
Yeah, so if you want me, I can look at it right now while you're looking at something else, or just. Okay, I found something. Let me see if I can. Can you see that? I sent like a group chat.
Yeah. Okay. That did get merged. Send this to DWAS. I'll send this to DWAS, and maybe this has already been addressed. It went into develop March of last year, so that may or may not have made it in 20. That is in 2018-3 though, you're saying, right?
Well, it's in our branch. I don't know if I didn't double check in like SaltStack 2018.3.
Yeah. Let's see, I'll just look at this. 2019. Let me look in 2018.
I'll just leave for 1 minute. I'll be back 1 second. I'm back. Sorry about that.
No, it looks like that's in 2019 too, but it's not in 2018-3 for us.
Yeah, it's really an optimization, so it's not like a bug fix. It just makes things faster.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to refactor some of these things in order to support. So I'm create like a generic mechanism to initialize whatever we want to initialize in the new processes on Windows. Because that's what Sergey had in this change, having the log queue and the log queue level working on Windows.
Okay. Well, cool. So for before next month, before we meet again, I'd like to get the co-initialized stuff taken care of. And if you'd be willing to talk to some of our guys about memory leaks, that would be awesome.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, regarding the memory leaks, we got to a level where it's acceptable for our use cases. So we are not that concerned about those anymore. The vast majority got fixed by Andre Z changes, is one of my colleague. There are still some leaks. We can try to fix more of those. And then I think the thing you fixed doing the co-uninitialize, in their documentation, they say that's going to release any memory that's held by not doing that. So that might address other memory leaks. But with what's there right now, it's fairly okay. Like it can have a runtime like at least 1 month with spawning a lot of jobs and just works okay.
Okay. Well, we'd like to be more stable than that, I think.
Sure.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have anything else. Did you have anything else, Rari? No. Did you have anything?
No.
Okay.
Not from my side. I think it was mainly like to see where we are going. So it seems like there's a mutual interest to get things fixed. And yeah, probably we can like continue on email if we have some like urgent stuff. We can even have these kind of meetings if that's going to be faster for some stuff we are working on. Would it be okay to schedule like a meeting like this, just like between you and me, for example, or DWAS or whoever else is interested?
Yeah.
Just not to wait until we have official work group meetings.
Yeah. Yep. We can do that.
Okay.
Where are you at? Are you in Texas?
No, Romania.
You're in Romania. So this is nighttime for you.
Well, it's 7 p.m. It's not too bad. It's just, yeah, it's not office hours for me.
Okay. So if we did it, we'd have to schedule it in an evening for you, probably, if you're willing to do that.
Right. Yeah, well, if it's not like very regular, that's probably fine.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to join us today.
Sure.
And you too, Tommy, our silent partner. Okay. All right. Well, I guess we'll talk to you guys again next month. I will be communicating with email and Slack, and if we need to schedule another meeting, we will between now and then, but we'll just plan on for now next month.
Awesome.
Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Sure. Bye, guys.
And,